The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman.
Welcome back to Mission Minded. Keep your mind, your mission on your mind. We're recording the show here on, what is today? The 6th of June. I know it's the 6th of June.
June
It's my boy's birthday. He was born on 6/6/07. So happy 18th birthday to my boy. And he'll probably be stopping in the studio here in just a minute. So if you see someone come up behind me and give me a hug, it'll be my... He hears me talking. He's got to be part of everything.
You're a DJ, so I'm going to ask you, what do you remember June 6th being in the lyrics? This was not hard rock, so probably not, but June 6th is mentioned in the heart of a song.
June 6th is mentioned in the heart of a song. I was thinking the Four Seasons. Oh, what a night. That was December, though. That was December 2nd, though, I think. I don't.
Okay, I don't know them. I'm saying this to you. I'm typing this out as we see it.
Okay.
C.W. McCall, he says, it was the dark of the moon on the 6th of June in a Kenworth, and on the 6th of June in a Kenworth pulling logs, cab over Pete with a reefer on and Jimmy hauling hogs. We was heading for Bear on I-10, about a smile out of Shaky Town. I says, Pigpen, this here's the rubber duck.
The rubber ducky.
And I'm about to put the hammer down. That's
the
lyrics to C.W. McCall's Convoy.
Convoy, man, I do remember that song. That was a huge song, by the way. That was a monster song. That says June 6th. I never knew. Now I know. Yeah. That's great. I'm going to write that down. Now I know. That's fantastic. First of all, welcome in. We do two shows here, Mission Minded, then, of course, Bite by Bite, which is a show specific to the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. We'll do that afterwards. And if you're listening to the Tony Curry Radio Network, it runs right after our show. So you get almost a full hour of this stuff, which we love. And it's just a great show. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. If you want to send some email questions, we get to all those. A lot going on in the business world. I had one idea, but you mentioned the fact that, I'm sure you want to talk about the Trump-Elon Musk separation. Kind of felt this coming maybe about a week ago when the big, beautiful bill didn't seem to run by Elon Musk particularly well. I think off the cuff, he said on a podcast, I don't think it could be big. It could be beautiful, but it can't be both. And some people are like, ooh, these two have obviously a lot of man love for each other. He's actually gotten a golden key to the city of Washington, D.C. So, and of course, he served his 130 days, and he will continue to do some consultant work, I think. But listen, there's one person out there who's just narcissistic and doesn't really give a rip as Donald Trump, and that's Elon Musk. And it was funny because based off their separation, they're looking at the stock prices to see what Tesla stock's doing. It's all 14% today. So in some cases, what you touch that has to do with Trump is good things. Sometimes it's not. But you wanted to bring up, and I think this is really interesting because I think we get a whole show out of this. But we always talk about, in radio, we never burn bridges. You know, you never burn bridges because it was nothing for me to be a program director over a guy, and then 4 years later, he's my boss. It just moved that much depending on whether you wanted to be behind the mic or in a corner office. I was offered the corner office job, and I knew having that job was probably going to help me stay in radio for a lot longer, but I didn't want to stay in something that I was sitting behind a desk. It was not fun, and I sure as hell didn't want to work 9 to 5. I had never worked a 9 to 5 job. Give me that 4 hours and let me go out and do my bar stuff, and I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. But you brought up something really interesting because when you do have a separation, that is not amicable, and it's quite frankly really, really messy, and it's public. That's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think either one of those guys cares about what the other one thinks. I really don't. I think they made a purpose, but where do you think the relationship goes from here?
Well, I mean, you want to talk about two gigantic narcissistic individuals, just two egos. It's like two rams full speed ahead, and boom, you hear it all over the place. I will tell you in this case, this particular case, I think Elon Musk comes out on the worst end of this. And here's why. Elon Musk years ago was supported primarily liberal causes.
Mm-hmm.
He started Tesla. Not that electric cars are liberal in their nature, but he was focused on the planet, and the ecosystem kind of leans more focused on the left. So he was doing a lot of great things, and then he got really tired and pushed back and all that, and so he elevates Trump, or helps to elevate Trump. Well, Trump wants somebody kissing the ring, and it seems like Elon Musk got elevated to this. He was representing Doge, he was going through, and he was seeing some real things behind the scene that I think opened up his eyes. The truth of the matter is, if the true curtain was pulled back on our government and the history of our government, people being killed, things that are chalked up to conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
Just look recently at COVID.
Yep.
And some of the stuff that's come out. Everybody that was called a kook for ivermectin, and then now it comes out and it shows, oh well, it does have some helpful effects. But you were mocked, you were ridiculed. So there's tons of things I think we would be appalled at, and I think he got a little peek behind the curtain, and I think then he kind of elevated himself. My perception is that he looked at himself as the fixer.
Mm-hmm.
But when when you're next to Trump and your light shines a little too bright, then Trump's going to make sure that doesn't happen. And so there begin to be just a little bit, and then and we don't even know what's happened behind the scenes. But what he's finding out is when you go all out and you're trying to destroy Trump, what you're going to find is that Trump's followers are incredibly loyal, and they love that dude. And I think he could punt a baby across a football field,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still going to support Trump. Okay, they're just not going to give up on him for whatever reason.
But that does mean you're going to have to kiss his ass no matter what he does.
100%.
I mean, period. I mean,
that's just
because as
who he is.
As you're speaking here, I'm trying to think of anyone that he's befriended or worked with or hired that has stayed with him for any amount of time. Even his VP, he got rid of his VP. I mean, and I fully believe that. I know Vance is doing a great job, and I think he's a perfect person for Trump. I think he is. I think he can kiss a lot of ass, but I think he's a forward thinker. But I mean, I don't expect them to have a relationship after he leaves office.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Trump is the alpha, and he's not going to tolerate any other alphas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least displaying their alpha, as long as they can be an alpha, as long as they're alpha standing behind him.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick question before you move on? Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone like Donald Trump? Have you ever had to work with anyone like Donald Trump? I've asked you the question: has everyone gone to the Heart of Alabama Food Bank? Says, I want to give you $1 million, but you can only spend it on this, and you're like, that's just not what we need to do with the money. So sorry, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah,
you've had to do that several times, but do you know anyone like that?
I know some people with that are that rate very high. If you were to grade them out on the narcissism scale, would rate very high. They are people who oftentimes what I refer to as they're a bull who takes a china shop with them wherever they go.
Mm-hmm.
But even those people sometimes I've seen can get knocked back on their heels. It's really amazing. This is why Trump is, and I'm not saying this out of sheer support, but think about it. When you look at what they drug him through, the 43 felonies, at the heart of that, it was all about loans and not valuing his property. Nobody, the bank in Germany that lent him the money, they testified, and I was really surprised by this. They testified and they said look, yes, he gave us a valuation, but we were okay with the valuation. The lawsuit did not come out of a complaint from the
Yep.
person who lent him the money.
Mm-mm.
The bank says, we loaned it to him. We would do it again. And yet they still went after him. So I do kind of side that I think Trump was pursued by the Justice Department in an unfair way. But here's what's so remarkable about Trump. And on some level, whether you support Trump or don't, you have to acknowledge it and you have to at least admire his fortitude. I'm not sure who else could have survived that and would have still run for president and still just owned it. Hey, you give me, I don't care how many felonies you get, I don't care what you do, on and on and on. I, and so he is the Teflon Don. Nothing sticks to him. And you think about what the Democrats have done. I was talking to my son-in-law, who is very clearly left-leaning, and he talks to me all the time, and we talked about it. But since 2016, so for 9 years, 3 election cycles, all the Democrats have done is complain about Trump and hit on Trump. And where is he? He's at least the top of his game. Mm-hmm. Go back to Musk, though. So Musk picks a fight with that guy. He comes away, like you said, Tesla stock's down 14. I mean, it'll bounce back to some degree. But now everybody's looking at, from Musk's perspective, Musk trashed the left when he was buddying up. And now he's alienated, I'm not going to say all the right, but at least Trump supporters. When you look at his business and his stocks, you're right. I don't think ultimately he cares, because even if the stock goes down, he's still going to be the richest man in the world, or pretty close to it. But it potentially can. He's picked a fight with somebody who can say, we're not going to do contracts with SpaceX. We're not going to do contracts with the satellite system that he has. It could ultimately harm him financially, not destroy him, but could harm him. He may make that calculation, but that's not a lot of calculation. Most people can't afford to do that.
And that's why and that's why a lot of people didn't like this relationship in the first place, because they knew that he was going to be getting a lot of government contracts for a lot of the things he does, and he already had contracts with the U.S. government even under Biden, but certainly more so with Donald Trump. And again, but something tells me that Elon Musk is a smart enough guy that he knew what he was getting himself into. I don't think he's saying these things to get under Donald Trump's. I think he's just telling like it is. I think he's like, hey, listen, the whole big bad bill is undermining everything I just tried to do here, and it doesn't make sense that we're doing this now. Of course, they're coming out with the numbers that the tariffs are saving $80 billion, and it's going to save us $2.3 trillion. Blah blah blah. But that's all money that U.S. taxpayers are going to have to pay, and he came out and didn't like that as well.
Well, let me say this: that the interesting thing is, and you really don't know, but let's say Musk did see some things, like maybe he was told, maybe he's actually seen the Epstein files, or he was told by maybe the intelligence community is trying to sabotage that relationship because they've gone after Trump in other ways. So who knows? They could have planted a seed in Musk. And maybe because Musk says, wait a minute, I can't sidle up next to somebody who was involved with Epstein. I don't know what triggered. It could be true convictions. It could be something calculated. But as of right now, Trump is smashing him in terms of the negative effects that have come out of this.
It's funny. I mean, it's entertaining. I mean, listen, we got to remember that Donald Trump is a TV star. Okay, I mean, he had absolutely no.
And who knows this whole thing? I've already heard some people say that they could be doing this together.
Oh yeah.
But
and it's interesting too. It's really hard because I think that's what really that's the left side and the liberals and the Democrats really are having a hard time with, because eventually someone's got their kryptonite. There's something that you can use that's going to take somebody down, and there's absolutely nothing that is kryptonite to Donald Trump.
They've thrown everything at him.
I think there's something that could probably take down Elon Musk. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe a woman. But there's not one thing. I mean, how much more hell can you put a guy through with the felonies? He's guilty of all these different things. Any of us would have been behind bars right now, saying nothing.
Or we would just shrunk away out of society.
And the only way to get rid of that is the old mob days. Put them behind bars, but then they still run the business, from behind bars. Yeah. But that's how we took down Capone. That's how we take down some of our biggest mob guys, is to put them behind bars for the rest of their lives so they just go away. But I mean, that's not going to happen to Donald Trump. So I don't think I've ever heard him say I'm sorry. I wonder if he's ever said he's sorry to his wife.
Well, that's the part, and I don't want to look. I've said this many times before. There are some things that Trump does that I really genuinely support because I think they're good for the country. It's tough sometimes you can appreciate his fortitude, his savvy, his ability to market, his ability to flex as he needs to. He's really, for not growing up as a politician, he's very skilled at this. But there's a lot of things that he's doing that I don't think, that leave you scratching your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to make it look like, that we're calling him a criminal or that he needs to be arrested or that we want to bring him down. I think most people just marvel. I mean, this is a story that we would never believe that could have happened, whether you support him or whether you don't support him.
Yeah.
You would have never written a script like this over 3 presidential terms to see something unfold like it is.
And I do think in a country right now that really is, we need a leader. We've wanted a leader. We've needed a leader. And I think there's a lot of people in there because of our social media, and we love celebrities. We're followers in this country. We just like to follow. I mean, if you come up with a Facebook group of drunk bowlers who own, Cabbage Patch dolls and like to walk their dogs 3.7 miles, you're going to get 100,000 followers tomorrow because there's people that just want to be part of something bigger. And I think a lot of Trump supporters are like that. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. But yeah, I think from that standpoint, I think a lot of people just want to have someone to follow, but yeah, I mean, from a power standpoint, I think he's untouchable. I had something that was on the top of my brain. I can't remember what I was going to ask you about.
Let me say this on the loyalty. I agree. A lot of people want, but another thing that he's been able to master is blue collar workers that used to be a core Democratic voter. Trump has totally won them over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he stood up there, Biden, there was going to be this sale of U.S. steel to Nippon Steel out of Japan. And so anyway, Trump, he's standing up there and all the people are behind him. And he's like, hey, here's a president who is talking about the strength of the union. So he's not anti-union. I mean, he's kind of he's taken some strong things out of the old Democrat Party. He's taken and he's left some core things out of the Republican Party, and he's kind of forged it. Now, he's done it under the Republican umbrella now, but it's not the neoconservatism because he's not interventionist. He's appealing to a lot of people with the fact that he's trying to stay out of wars rather than get us into wars.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. If you just look at this, of course, I don't want the economy to be wrecked. Well, time's going to tell where tariffs are. There's no doubt he's secured our borders. He's kicking out some bad guys. But the other thing is, I've gotten very sensitive to as I've gotten older, is the amount of wars when I look back, and I used to be somebody who's like, hey, we need to be the world's police. We need to spread democracy. We need to go right all the wrongs of the world. And until I see so many people, if they survive, come back with PTSD, it destroys their families, it destroys marriages, it destroys parents, it destroys lives. And I'm like, to what end? And so I hate seeing suffering in the world. I hate seeing Gaza struggle. I'm very pro-Israel, but I hate to see any suffering anywhere. And it's all over the the world in pockets where they're suffering. And as much as I hate that, I'm not sure it's worth American lives to go try to resolve every fallout in the world.
I think I saw something on some show, I guess a couple of days ago on the History Channel. In the last 2,000 years, I believe only 8% of the time we have not had some type of war going on in the world. There's always something going on, and some wars go on forever. What I wanted to mention, though, before the one thing about Donald Trump that I think is really interesting is, he's throwing around these 25, 35, 50% taxes on the EU and on Germany and Canada and, some of our allies. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I've been around people like this where they'll look at you right in the face, shake your hand, smile at you, really nice to meet you, hope to do business with you, and then just absolutely trash you the next day. And you're like, whoa, what's going on? And a person and that narcissism comes along with that. But what that does is it puts you on your toes. And he's like, well, I got all these people now calling me want to make deals. Well, hell yeah, you want to make deals. I mean, when the American economy goes down, the world economy goes down. We're important. And the same thing for China. When China has a bad day, we have a bad day. So we've got to work together somehow in that capacity to make sure that things go fluidly. But yeah, I mean, he's sitting there just slamming on somebody one day. And then the next day saying, I just had a wonderful conversation with X, blah, 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 for the last 45 minutes. And he's a true leader. And I believe da, 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 da. And the next day on Twitter, he's hammering the dude. And so that's the kind of person that, kind of keeps you on your toes. Nothing status quo with him. And I do think there's some good things that come out of that.
Well, yeah. I will tell you this. I think the deviation, this is what I was talking about earlier, the deviation from traditional politics or Republicanism. Republicans going all the way back to NAFTA, the free trade, North American Free Trade Agreement. We were so big on, that's exactly how we got into this. We started going to every country, and Milton Friedman, who is a brilliant economist, this is the only thing I've ever heard him say that I disagree with. And he's since passed, but I've watched him, seen his book. He's a brilliant guy, and I agree with him 95% of the time. But I saw an interview with him. Now, this is back from the late 70s, early 80s. He was very prominent in Reagan's years as a leading economist. And he talked about the importance of spreading democracy through free trade. And so what ended up happening, it became a core principle. So what we said was, well, we want to do this. Well, then let's say Europe, for instance, said, well, we make steel here. I don't know that it's actually steel. I'm just using that as an example. Whatever their product was, they didn't want us sending our product out, so they would charge us a tariff. Well, we didn't respond with tariffs. We said, well, we're still going to take your product and not charge anything. So when you look at the manufacturing companies here, they're like, wait a minute. We can't send stuff over there, or we can, but our stuff is so much higher. So it's not a level playing field. And as a country, you're not protecting us. And that's part of Boeing had a good case. I remember Airbus used to get subsidies from Germany. Now Airbus makes now in Alabama, down in Mobile, but Airbus got subsidies, and for the planes that sold from the German government at the time, but Boeing did not get subsidies. All right. So Boeing had to compete against Airbus. Well, they lost a lot of money to Airbus contracts because Airbus could undercut Boeing's price because the government was backing it up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about, the unfair play. And that's what Trump talks about all the time. The problem is, I don't think anybody would have any problem if Trump would just very simply come out and say, anybody who does free trade with us, we're going to do free trade with them. Whatever their tariffs are that are already, we're just going to match those. And I don't think anybody else, but it turns into, and this is where I think his bravado hurts him, is he could do all that behind the scenes, but publicly then he's like, there's so many people who wants to deal with me. And and they have to go through this ring kissing ceremony. And that's what bothers people like myself, is if I want I want your strength. I want your persistence. I want your boldness when you're representing our country. But I also would just on occasion love to see, once you've got the deal done, just have just an ounce of humility. And
yeah.
It just doesn't exist.
Oh man, it doesn't. We've been waiting for that. We were hoping this second presidential thing was just be more presidential, be more compassionate, because listen, all these cuts and all these things. I've got friends of mine that had their jobs cut, and they were good people, and they were working their asses off for the government.
Yeah.
I really do, and we threw a lot of babies out with the bathwater there. And listen, I'm not saying it wasn't something. It was probably easier to do it that way and then bring them back later. But there was a lot of people doing a lot of wonderful work. I don't get the whole Harvard thing. I really don't care. But there's a lot of grave pissing right now, and it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of like, let's move on. And you and I were talking, prior to the show about, we got much better things to do than to deal with passive things like that. But interesting stuff. All right, next week I want to get into this Small Business Administration office. They're talking about moving. They just passed a bill. And it passed pretty resoundingly. I think it was 221 to 100 or something like that. Anyway, the House passed legislation to move some of the SBAs away from sanctuary cities. I want to get your thoughts on sanctuary cities. And, of course, they're moving those to better serve the small business community and comply with federal immigration laws. We'll talk about that a little bit later on next week. If you've got any questions about anything we've talked about today, great show. info@TonyCurryRadio.net, info@TonyCurryRadio.net. Coming up here next year on TKR. And wherever you get your favorite podcast, Bite by Bite, right here on TKR. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as always.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.